We are back at it with another 14th Doctor Rumour. The tabloids have gone absolutely mad again over this weekend just gone and today as well. Basically, if you are somehow out of the loop on this one, the Sunday People, that reputable, popular, famous publication, the Sunday People, proud to be independent apparently, and I believe this is where it started off, this is where, a lot of people saw this story first, and then it's been repeated subsequently by other papers like the Mirror and, well, basically everybody now, I think. But yeah, they had this on their front page, this headline, on Sunday, March 20th, 2022. And as you can see, Doctor Hugh is that headline. So the story they're running with is that Hugh Grant is going to be the next Doctor Who, basically. He's taking over from Jodie Whittaker. He is going to be the 14th Doctor. And I've discussed it a little bit on a live stream I was doing on that Sunday evening. But I did want to just do a separate video about this, just to share some thoughts and bits and pieces, because it's an interesting one. It's a rumour, essentially. At the end of the day, it's a rumour. It could come true like any other rumour. It could equally just be a load of rubbish. I think the important thing, obviously, to say about this particular rumour is that it's not actually the first time that Hugh Grant has been rumoured to be Doctor Who. In fact, this same story was run about 20 years ago, give or take, back in 2003-04, when Rusty Davies originally came back, and Doctor originally came back, and in that time, for Series 1 in 2005. Hugh Grant was apparently, going to be the 9th Doctor. So this is nothing new. I think probably most likely what has happened here is that story has been dredged back up again, obviously because Rusty Davies is in charge of the show once again, and so, it makes a certain amount of sense, I guess from the tabloids' point of view, to dredge this story back up and to run it again, and it seems credible because of that, I suppose, and also because Hugh Grant has worked with Rusty Davies on other projects since, like Very English Scandal a couple of years back, the drama about Jeremy Thorpe. And of course, the other thing to say on that front is that there was actually some truth to that initial rumour, in the sense that Hugh Grant was actually approached at some point in negotiations, to be the 9th Doctor, but he turned it down, or rather his agent actually turned it down. The story goes that he turned it down himself, but I think it has been said more recently, I was looking this up, that it was actually his agent that turned it down, so that the offer never actually reached Hugh Grant himself, because the agent just didn't like the look of Doctor Who or whatever, and didn't think it was going to be successful or whatever, so he vetoed it, from the get-go. So Hugh Grant was approached, but nothing ever came of that. So I guess it's sort of maybe conceivable that that might have happened again, and I think Hugh Grant has sort of expressed regret since that didn't work out. I didn't get through to him, that offer, because he would have said yes. I think he has gone on record as saying he would have said yes if the offer had actually reached him. But basically, Hugh Grant has form for being rumoured to be Doctor Who, so this is nothing new in particular. Also, of course, long-term Doctor Who fans will know, if you know about The Curse of Fatal Death, the 1999 comic relief special, that of course in that special, which had Rowan Atkinson predominantly playing the Doctor, towards the end of that, Rowan Atkinson regenerates a number of times into various other different Doctors, and Hugh Grant was one of those. So he has actually played the Doctor once before, very briefly, in a comic relief special over 20 years ago. I think one of two, maybe three things is going on here. So possibility number one is that, like I say, it is literally just the same story, from back in the day, being dredged up again, just because it sells and it looks, sensational and whatever, and people are going to read it and believe it and whatever. Option number two is that it is just a load of rubbish, which I suppose goes hand in hand with option number one. Then there is the possibility that there is some truth in this as well. And I'll get on to my thoughts on, what I would think of Hugh Grant as Doctor Who in just a moment. But I think, probably the more likely option here, or outcome, is that, Hugh Grant has been approached by RTD, or the production team or whatever, to play some sort of role in the next incarnation of Doctor Who, but to not actually play the Doctor, And we've had this, so many times. Because, obviously with David Tennant and Christopher Eccleston, right, Rusty Davies had worked with them both before, just before they were cast as the Doctors. So he's got form for working with people that he's previously worked with, on Doctor Who, and then casting them as the Doctor. And so, that's why I think this seems somewhat conceivable. But I think actually the more likely outcome is that, it's similar to what we've seen with Ollie Alexander being rumoured and Lydia West and all these people, where people have been scouring the cast lists for It's a Sin, years and years, all these recent RTD dramas. I think, with all these actors that, perhaps, we are going to see them in the next sort of incarnation of Doctor Who, in Series 14 or the 60th or whatever, but not necessarily as the Doctor. So, for example, we might see one of the boys from It's a Sin, one of the ones that wasn't Ollie Alexander, one of the sort of 4 main leads, as a one-off villain or a one-off supporting character in a story in Series 14. I think it's likely that these names that people are looking at and thinking about and suggesting, they might appear in the next version of Doctor Who, but not as a Doctor, like I said. I think it's more likely that they will be in supporting roles or one-off roles or whatever. So I think, looking at this, and like I say, it could be rubbish, but I think the more likely option is that perhaps, maybe, because obviously RTD is a big name, and, Hugh Grant has worked with him recently before, like I say, it's possible that he's playing some sort of role in the 60th or Series 14. And then, of course, there is the other option, the other possibility here, which is that this is actually true, and that Hugh Grant is going to be the 14th Doctor, or some sort of Doctor, because it has been suggested, I think, by some people that we could be dealing with a sort of John Hurt style scenario here, where you get like a one-off Doctor for the 60th or whatever, or something to bridge the gap between 13 and 14, or he could just be the 14th Doctor. It is perfectly possible. I mean, with all these rumours, you have to take it with a massive pinch of salt, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't want to end up with egg on your face, and so, this could be true. I'm not going to rule it out completely. I have gone on record myself in the past as saying that, personally, I think the best option for the show would be to have another female Doctor, certainly for the next one, and maybe the next one after that as well, but, certainly for the 14th Doctor, I think that is sort of something the show needs to do, personally. Myself, of course, if the 14th Doctor is a man, if it is Hugh Grant or some other male actor, I'm not going to boycott the show or anything. I'm not, of course not, because I'm a Doctor Who fan. I will watch it regardless and trust RTD to make the right call, the right decision. But then even then, thinking about it in terms of RTD as well, who is such a sort of champion for equality and diversity in TV and casting and stuff. He's been very vocal in the past, well, obviously, as a gay man himself, about like LGBT stuff and trans rights more recently as well. I'm not quite sure I can see him just going back to another male Doctor and not sort of taking the opportunity as well, and especially coming back to the show, for a second time, the opportunity to actually cast a woman in the role and to have his own take on a female Doctor. I think he's got more sense than, to just cast another male Doctor. I mean, obviously, like I say, if he does do this, or some other sort of variation of this scenario where we get another man as the Doctor, like I say, I would trust that decision and trust him and run with it and see what happens. But that is my main sort of reservation about this. I mean, in terms of Hugh Grant as an actor, I've seen him in some bits and pieces, like the Paddington movie where he played a villain and all that sort of stuff. And I guess he could sort of bring a sort of quirky take to the role. Obviously quite a sort of mainstream actor who a lot of people know of, especially he's done a lot of TV and films and stuff, a very big name. Instantly as well, he'd be the oldest Doctor Who if this was actually the case, because I believe he is 61 at the moment, and Peter Capaldi played the role up to the age of 59 or 60, I think, when he left in 2017. So that's another interesting facet of this rumour. But I guess ultimately, that is my main feeling towards this. That, I think if it did turn out to be true, there would be that sort of sense of disappointment, of slight disappointment there in the fact that we're not getting another female Doctor straight away. And, if we do get Hugh Grant or another male Doctor or whatever, then I will still sort of maintain that stance that, one day I want to see an older woman in the role. I think that's personally my own sort of main number one choice at the moment for the next Doctor. So if that doesn't happen next time round, then I'll hope that'll happen sometime in the future. But that's sort of my thoughts on this. I mean, you have to take it with a massive pinch of salt, like I say. But I think it is sort of worth discussing this, because it brings some interesting discussions to the fore, about what's going to happen with the 14th Doctor. And it is all hypothetical, of course it's hypothetical, But yeah, it's interesting to sort of speculate about what might be, and probably never will be. But you know, you never know. You really do never know. I guess if there is one thing we can say for certain, it's that neither Hugh Grant or David Tennant will both be the 14th Doctor. You know, at least one of them will not be the 14th Doctor. So that is one thing we can be completely certain of, given the recent rumours. And you can also add Ollie Alexander into the mix there as well. Those three, at least two of them, will not be the 14th Doctor. But those are my thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on so-called Doctor Who? Is it something that you would like to see happen? Or something you're indifferent about? Or something you really don't want to see for whatever reason? Whatever the case, please do let me know in the comments below. It'll be really interesting to hear what you've got to say. Please do give this video a like if you have enjoyed it, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you're new here. And if you want to go one step further and support the channel a bit more, feel free to check out my Patreon page, which is linked in the description below. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye for now.